Welcome everyone to another Warframe build video. This one for Atlas, who is one of my favorite frames and totally worth putting in an Umbra Forma. Atlas is great for every mission type other than spy missions. He can do a lot of AoE damage, and he is invulnerable while he's doing the damage. The only thing he's lacking is really high scaling DPS for very high level endless missions. But unless you're going to do an endless mission for hours on end, this frame has it all. Now, I'm going to talk about the Helminth builds that I do. So I've got two builds effectively that I use. One is to replace his number 2 with Pillage. The other is to replace his number 2 with Ensnare. His other 3 abilities are all pretty useful and good. Pillage lets him basically not have to worry about taking HP damage because his shields will always be full or with overshields or whatnot. And it helps him do more damage because it strips, at least with this build, 45% of the enemy's armor in the process of casting it and hitting them. They have to be in line of sight in order to get the armor stripped and for you to recharge your shields, but that's usually pretty easy to find enemies to pillage. For the Ensnare, actually, came about as a suggestion from one of the users on the Warframe forums. I was struggling with Larva. It turns out that Larva actually does allow Petrify to take effect so that you can build up rubble off of enemies that are held by Larva, but you can't see the effect. Larva also got its radius or range nerfed, so Ensnare actually has bigger range with the same mod setup, and it can propagate sort of, pretty quickly, and so you get more range and radius out of this thing, and you can cast it at a distance on an enemy. And so Ensnare actually, it turns out, works better, and you can still see the Petrify effect take hold. So I'll show you both of these builds. If you don't want to put an Umbra Forma on this, that's totally fine. Drop your Umbral Fiber, and instead, for this build, use Augur Secrets for the additional power strength, and for this build, drop it and use Augur Reach for the additional range. Otherwise, this is a great build. It works really well. You're going to want Arcane Avenger for the additional crit chance anytime you're damaged, so you'll be taking most of the damage. You'll take all of the damage if you're soloing. A lot of times you're just taking damage. Even though you're immune to damage, this will still kick in, so you're getting that 45% critical chance. Arcane Fury will increase your melee damage, so that's a really good one to use. On both builds, it's basically the same mod layout. So you're going to use Steel Charge to further increase your melee damage, Power Drift to increase your landslide damage, Fleeting Expertise and Streamline so that you cut your energy efficiency. You have that up at 175%. So you're basically all of your abilities are spammable, and you shouldn't have any issues with energy. You're going to use Rubble Heap to do 2 times damage and travel twice as fast with your landslide. In this, it only kicks in when you have more than 1400 rubble and extra armor, which is fairly easy to get to because with this additional 145 range from your stretch, your landslide actually hits in a 3-meter radius around you. So you'll hit most of the enemies around you pretty easily. Obviously, it's not a huge AoE, but it's big enough. And you've got all 3 Umbra Formas if you can. If not, like I said, drop that one, add in some ability strength for this build or range for the Ensnare build. In terms of your weapons, don't really worry about your 2, your primary and your secondary. You're almost never going to use them. Instead, you're going to use either Prisma Dual Cleavers or Jaw Sword are my recommendations for your stat stick. Your melee weapon will affect the damage that your landslide does. So go ahead, and this is actually, I messed around with several builds, and this one is sort of the most effective unless you have the primed versions of these 2 mods. This one works really, really well. The other thing that you could do is you can drop Blood Rush and instead use Volcanic Edge to get a heat proc on the enemy. That works nearly as well, but having the Blood Rush does make you crit just that little bit more. So, you know, I'm going with the Blood Rush at this point. Also, having the corruption damage seems to increase, or not corruption, corrosive damage seems to increase damage more than using, you know, the two impact, so collision force and whatever the other one is. So this actually ends up doing more damage to most enemies. You'll have drifting contact. I recommend that to just get a 10-second additional combo duration and a little bit more status chance. Spoiled Strike for the 100% damage. Justice Blades for the Justice effect. You can also use, if you're using Jaw Sword, be sure to use the Syndicate mod for that one too. 100% melee damage plus Justice, and that one will restore your health. So you're getting health back from this effect, this Syndicate weapon effect, plus your Rubble. So you should be full health all the time. And with Pillage, you're full shields all the time. Plus, you're doing a bunch of damage from your hits, so you're basically immortal in most cases. Your armor sitting here with these Umbral mods, all of the Umbral mods, you're sitting at a base of 1,306. Plus, you're getting another 1,500 from your Rubble stacking, so you're pretty tanky. You're not taking a whole lot of damage, and with your max shields up and you debuffing enemies so that you do more damage, you're pretty survivable. Also, I've switched it up, and I've gone with Naramon. I'm not having any issues with energy with this build, so I've gone with Naramon to make my melee combo counter decrease more slowly. So it'll just decrease, rather than totally getting wiped out, it just decreases by 5 after the delay. So it makes it much easier to stack your combo counter, which does affect your landslide damage. So the higher the melee combo counter is, the more damage you're going to be doing. This build works pretty effectively, so let me show you how it performs in practice. And I'm going to leave the arrow lists just as a little bit of a final surprise. We'll kill a few of those. So we'll start out with Corrupted Heavy Gunners, because that's what everybody uses. Sorry, I only have level 150, but it's basically the same thing. Then you're going to want to equip your melee weapon. And I'll show you really quick. So you'll want to make sure that the stuff is petrified, and actually if I would have stood back here and cast it, I would have gotten all of them. So you can see with one hit, I do about 4,000 damage, right? Without a crit. Now, if I do the Pillage, then I'm doing quite a bit more damage, right? So every time you cast that too, you're stripping more armor. So now I'm up to 16,000 damage, right? And obviously and that's base, no crit. And that's only with a 2x combo multiplier. Now, if I actually build up my combo multiplier, you can see I just hit for 150,000 with a 3x combo multiplier. So most of these, particularly once you get rolling, I don't even have my Rubble stacked yet. So once you get rolling, you're either one or two shotting 100, level 50 corrupted heavy gunners. Missed that one. Oh, I ran out of energy. Hold on, let me go get some more energy. That usually won't happen in practice. It was because I was casting my Pillage so much. So kill this one, and then we'll respawn and get some more. Oops. Are you dead yet? There you go. Now you're dead. Let's go get some more and see how it does once we stack up damage a little bit more and get my stacks. And you can cast Pillage first, or you can cast Petrify first. It's up to you. Just get both of them up. So you can see, just, regular punches, I'm already hitting for, without too high of a multiplier. If I get a crit, I'm hitting for like more than 100,000 damage in an AoE around me, so it's not taking too many hits to knock these guys down. And now I have my rubble maxed out. And I forgot to even do pillage there, and I took him out still in like 3 hits. So fairly effective build. And you can see my combo counter is just ticking down really slowly. That's, you know, the beauty of this build. You should be able to build up your combo counter fairly fast. And I can hit, when I'm stacked max with my melee combo counter and my rubble, and I'm hitting my, you know, second or third or fourth ability, I can actually do, you know, 300,000 damage or more against you know, these corrupted heavy gunners. Now, what happens if we do something that's like melee adaptive or adaptive to status effects, right? So aerialists, if anybody played the Scarlet Spear event, aerialists can be kind of a pain to kill, right? Because they've got these shields, and it's just tanky. So I wonder how long it's going to take me to kill them. Oh, some of them are already dead. Look at that. Oh, the rest of them are already dead. Alright, what about these ones? Shields are shattered, and they're down. So I'm not aware of too many builds, at least that I've been able to come up with, that can just tear apart airlists like this. Oh my goodness. They definitely died. And you can see I am sitting at 1650 shields. I'm good to go. Incredibly tanky build. Very easy to build up the rubble. Very easy to build up the combo multiplier. And so this is by far my favorite build. Now, for those of you who sort of, you know, have difficulty getting the petrify on the enemies, you can instead switch over to the second build. And that one will use Ensnare, and I'll just demonstrate that one really quickly. You're giving up a bit of damage because you're not pillaging the enemies, but other than that, this actually gives you sort of better control of the fights and makes it easier to get the petrify on, which makes it easier to stack. You know, it's kind of a CC ability, and it makes it easier to stack rubble. So I can cast from like way back here. I can cast that. You can get the petrify really easily on the enemies. And I'm still, you know, corrupted heavy gunners takes just a few hits, right? There you go. Took out the entire pack. 3 hits. And I'm using no Riven. Don't need an Uber Riven in order to be Uber. So another benefit to this build, in addition to just being invulnerable to damage and everything else, you got good control. That Ensnare will propagate to other enemies in the area, so you can drag them in, and yeah, you're tanky, you're doing good damage, and this frame is a whole lot of fun. Highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite frames in the game. And I will see you back. There we go. 450,000 hit without a Riven. Like, it's a little ridiculous with the damage, right? So I'll see you back for another video soon. Probably do Nova next. I've tweaked that build a little as well, but hope you enjoyed this build. Hope you find it useful. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Have a good one.